Kelly Ripa sits outside the intensive care unit, convinced she is about to lose Mark Conwell, the man who has been by her side for a lifetime. To many of us, they are the most adorable pair on television. Their love story has always had the sparkle of a modern fairy tale, a bond so strong that it has served as a guiding light for nearly 3 decades. But imagine for a moment that this seemingly unbreakable connection was once pushed to its absolute limit, threatened by an unseen enemy capable of bringing millions to their knees. This isn't a tale about a breakup. It's a story about a collapse, a sudden medical emergency, and the quiet, life-altering promise Kelly made to herself that night. A vow that wasn't just about keeping Mark alive. A vow that would reshape their future in ways she never expected. Anyone who has ever stared at the person they love and wondered, "What would I do without you?" will feel this deeply. For more than 25 years, the world has rooted for Kelly Ripa and Mark Conwell. They built an empire on humor, devotion, and a relationship that defies the usual Hollywood timeline. Social media perfection, polished red carpet moments, morning show charm, everything always looked beautifully effortless. For many of us, the dream is to grow older with the person we love, building something warm and lasting into our 50s and 60s. They made that dream look attainable. But here's the truth that every long-lasting couple from decades past knows. The strongest trees grow deep, hidden roots, and storms, real storms, never fully show on the surface. The most powerful storm Kelly and Mark ever weathered was not a headline scandal or a career setback. It arrived with one urgent phone call, shattering their golden world and replacing it with the sterile glow of hospital lights. It started on a regular Tuesday. Mark felt what he assumed was mild indigestion. A normal day, a simple errand, a bit of trouble catching his breath, and a tightness in his chest. Surely it was stress, exhaustion, maybe something he ate. At this age, minor discomforts blur into the background. But this wasn't minor. It was a sudden heart attack, a brutal reminder of how fragile everything truly is. No partner ever wants to receive the call Kelly got. The rushed drive to the hospital, the frantic voices of emergency doctors. In seconds, the glamour of television life evaporated. It was replaced by machines humming, monitors flashing, and the terrifying realization that the man she adored could slip away. The always energetic, always strong Mark Conwell was now vulnerable in a way she had never seen. Kelly, the confident, radiant force America sees every morning, clutched his lifeless hand and stared at the screens that now dictated their fate. She had to face the unthinkable, what life would look like without him. And yet, through the fear, something sharp and bright cut through the darkness, a clarity she had never felt before. She leaned down, closed her eyes, and made a silent promise. Not just to him, but to herself. A promise that would change everything. Hours passed. The ICU hummed with the rhythm of machines and muffled panic from other rooms. As Kelly kept watch, her mind drifted back to the small moments, their messy early mornings, their kitchen coffee chats, raising their kids, reading together in comfortable silence. She realized with a painful jolt that they had fallen into the someday trap. One day we'll travel more. One day we'll slow down. One day we'll actually live. But someday nearly vanished forever. So that night, Kelly whispered a vow into the quiet room. If he stayed, or even if he fought his way back, nothing would go back to the way it was. They would rebuild their life from the ground up. A life centered not on work, obligations, or endless schedules, but on each other. A life where joy wasn't postponed. a life where love came first. Would Mark even remember? And if he did, would he agree? Would this strong, dignified man be willing to shift everything after staring down his own mortality? The answer wouldn't come until later, after a miracle recovery, after grueling rehabilitation, after strength slowly returned. Mark eventually came back to her, but healing wasn't glamorous. It required humility, patience, vulnerability. He had to accept help, rely on Kelly, loosen the armor he had worn for decades. And something beautiful emerged from that vulnerability, a deeper connection, a renewed devotion, a reliance that went beyond romantic love. When Kelly shared the vow she'd made in that ICU room, Mark didn't push back. He embraced it. After almost losing everything, he couldn't return to the frantic pace that had once defined him. Their friends, their family, even the public were stunned when the couple began quietly stepping away, turning down offers, letting go of commitments that kept them apart, rearranging their entire life not for fame, but for longevity, for peace. But a new challenge was waiting. Their children, now grown, thriving, and scattered across different cities, were beginning their own independent lives. Many couples crumbled during this empty nest stage. With the kids gone and the house quiet, some partners suddenly realized they have nothing left to say to each other. This could have broken Kelly and Mark, especially after a medical scare. But instead of letting the silence divide them, they allowed it to draw them closer. They chose each other, fully, intentionally. They started traveling alone again, taking on small, meaningful projects together, dating each other again. The ICU crisis stripped their life down to only what mattered, a love that they actively chose every day. Then came the biggest surprise, one that dominated headlines. They bought a home far from Hollywood, in the place where their love story first bloomed, Italy. Not a vacation home, a real home. A sanctuary built on everything they promised each other that night. The joy of slow mornings, long meals, unfiltered closeness, and sunsets that felt like healing. This wasn't retirement, it was rebirth. They weren't leaving their old life behind. They were shedding the noise that never mattered. Media headlines made it sound like a final chapter, but to them, it was the beginning of the life they were always meant to live. Today, when you see Kelly and Mark glowing in interviews or photographed on quiet Italian streets, remember this: their happiness isn't effortless. It's earned. It's fought for. It's the kind of love that survives the storm and builds something stronger in its place. They didn't choose a fairy tale. They built one. And the promise Kelly whispered in that cold ICU room didn't end when Mark woke up. It became the foundation of their new life. Slow, intentional, joy first, beautifully simple. A life where two people don't just love each other, they choose each other, again and again, every day.